caterhamracer.com Season 10 270R Championship is sponsored by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, and by 1-to-1, on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker. We're supported by FPZero Simulators.
Good avond, dames en heren. And for those of you outside the Netherlands, that means good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship Round 3. Yes, we are indeed at the Netherlands circuits, the home of Dutch Motorsport, the home of the Dutch Grand Prix at Circuit Zandvoort. My name is Dave Goddard, and I'll be taking you through the action here this evening. Qualifying already underway for our Caterham 270Rs here tonight, and alongside me in commentary, as always, is Chris Hutchinson. Chris, good evening.
Good evening and welcome everyone to round 3. Came off hot off the heels of round 2. No rest for our drivers, and some of them have been out racing for real at the Croft circuit this weekend, so it really has had to induction of fire to get going tonight. But it's great to be here at Zandvoort circuit, and one of my own personal favourites, and I know a lot of the drivers love it as well.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if some drivers finished racing at Croft and jumped straight on the ferry from Newcastle to come over to race here in the Netherlands this weekend. A very busy period in the world of Caterham racing, but we are here at the home of the Dutch Grand Prix, of course, remodelled in recent years, with Formula One returning to the Netherlands due to the explosion in popularity with the successes of Max Verstappen. But it's Caterham racing that comes to Zandvoort this evening. 2 15-minute races coming up, qualifying already well underway for the first of them, the result of race 1 determining the grid for race number 2. And so far this season it has been the story of one man. 3 wins out of 4 for Max Haynes. He completely dominated the 2 races at Croft in North Yorkshire and leads the championship by 8 points ahead of Ryan Hooker. The only man to have beaten Max Haynes this year being Christian Saruta, who took the win in round 2 at Alton Park. This is the 3rd race meeting of the season. Haynes with that lead in the championship over Hooker and Saruta. We saw a couple of drivers in finding success who missed the first round at Alton Park at Croft, namely Paul Donkin and Jaroslav Černý. Jaroslav Černý is right up there in the times so far today, along with Paul Donkin. We move on from here. On the 14th of June we have the Silverstone Grand Prix round, the longest circuit on the calendar. Then we go to the fast Hampshire sweeps of Thruxton. Snetterton is the penultimate round, and then we go to Donington Park in August. 7 rounds for the Caterham 270R Championship. And it's fair to say, Chris, that the new car has met with enormous popularity and success among the drivers so far.
Absolutely, yeah. Really huge thanks to Andy Howard, Steve Arnell and Ben Obro for all the efforts they put in and to make this new model, and our drivers really love it. And we've given the drivers a full season in the 270R this year. I mean, in previous seasons we sort of dotted between the various different models, but we're looking forward to adding these updates to the other models we've got as well, just to bring that level of realism up.
It's quite a bigger grid than we normally see. A total of we're hoping to see 23 drivers on track here this weekend. There is the number 01, that is Jaroslav Černý. Saw him in the points at Croft on his first appearance of the season. It's currently Christian Saruta who is the quickest, the reigning champion, 156.004. The Brawn GP lookalike car number 2 has set so far. Max Haynes, the championship leader, in 2nd place, and David Rowe, the man behind DPR Motorsport, is 3rd quickest. Good to see Ian Joyner going well as well. We saw him out for the first time at Croft as well. He's in 4th quickest, but still a few minutes to go in qualifying. Got 8 minutes left on the clock. We should see about 4 more flying laps for each driver. Paul Donkin rounds out the top 5. A man who's raced everything over the years, from Porsche 911s down to Citroën C1s. I watched the end of the Citroën C1 24-hour race at Silverstone last weekend. What a cracking race that was, with over 50 of the little Citroëns on the grid. Gianni Lenz is on the top grid for the first time this year. Had a couple of Grid B wins at Alton Park at the start of the season, so he'll be a challenger for overall honours. Then it's Jaroslav Černý. Matt Shepherd, who struggled a bit at Croft in the last round, is 8th. Hugo Gomez, we saw him crash out of one race at Alton Park at the season opener, missed the 2nd round at Croft, so looking to make up for lost points. The Spanish driver currently 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is the man behind 1-to-1 driver coaching in car number 121. That is Ryan Hooker, just going through that amazing banked final corner, the Arie Luyendyk corner, named after the IndyCar legend born in the Netherlands, former Indy 500 winner, of course. Let's take you on a lap of the Zandvoort circuit then, on board with Ryan Hooker in the 121 car. First of all, it's into Tarzan, mainly because the speed going into there, I think, makes you give a Tarzan yell as you charge through that corner. It's behind the paddock buildings up towards the left at Gerlach, and then into the banked left-hander coming through Hugenholtz corner, named after John Hugenholtz, who was the one of the founders of this circuit just after the Second World War. Along what's pretty much a back straight. It's not very straight, but you weave your way through Hunsrück and up towards the Slotemacher corner, named after Robert Slotemacher, the former rally driver and racing instructor here at Zandvoort for many years, and into the right-hander at Schivlach, facing into the sand dunes. We are right on the coast here at the Zandvoort circuit. Then down a short straight into the right-hander at Masters Corner, the most famous event. There's one car jumps the curb there on the inside. Didn't quite see who that was. Masters Corner, of course, named after the Marlborough Masters of Formula 3. That was a major event here over the years. Through turn 9 and 10, the right, then the left. They swing their way back towards the paddock. A long lap here on the new Zandvoort circuit. Up towards the complex at Hans Ernst Corner. They reach the end of this straight and then into a right-hander. Good opportunity for some slipstreaming there. Into the right, and then this longer left-hander at the Hans Ernst complex. And it's up to Kumho corner, the right-hander, and then into the amazing Arie Luyendyk corner, into the banking to end the lap. And it's only from an onboard view like this you get to experience just how steeply banked this corner is. Just look at this on the way in. Must be like driving the Daytona Oval in reverse. Magnificent stuff. The circuit really improved in recent years, and that is a lap of the Zandvoort circuit.
It's always been a fantastic lap to drive in a Caterham. It's a real journey around there. It's actually quite bumpy in places as well, which really makes you think, and it sort of gives you that sense of speed. But it's a brilliant lap with like say, you go out into the dunes and then you return, and it's got high-speed corners. It's got tighter technical ones as well, and yeah, a real challenge for drivers out there. And the new banking, they've just sort of retains its character from before the Formula One returned here, but it's they've reprofiled a couple of them. The chicane's slightly tighter now and a little bit longer second half of that chicane, and like we've seen, the banking added to the number of the corners to make it suited to Formula One a little bit more. And I'm sure the Caterham drivers are looking forward to getting out there just in a couple of weekends' time.
And of course, another hazard for this circuit is, you mentioned it's right on the sand dunes, sand blowing onto the circuit. That can cause a few issues, can't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Grip levels are always a bit unknown, and if the weather does come in, I mean, normally in the summer it's obviously fantastic weather along the coast there, but if the weather does come in, it comes off the sea, and it can get pretty grim pretty quickly as well. But that's not going to be a problem for our drivers tonight. The weather is looking good online on our. In fact, it's perennially sunny on our servers.
Here's Gary Preble, more often seen in his Honda Civic these days in the Pre-03 Touring Car Championship. He's currently 14th in the times out of the 22 drivers that have run. It's still Christian Ceruto's quickest, but only about 8 thousandths of a second ahead of the championship leader Max Haynes. David Rowe in the DPR Motorsport car is third quickest. Then we have got Jaroslav Cherny, Paul Donkin, Ian Joyner, Gianni Lenz up there in 7th. Then Hugo Gomez, Ryan Hooker and Matt Shepherd rounding out the top 10. Good to see Tom McEwing back out as well. We didn't see him on the A grid at the second round at Croft. He was there or thereabouts at the opening rounds at Alton Park. The number 89 car, graduate of the Caterham Academy, has come through the Caterham ladder. Championship winner over the last couple of years. Ryan Hooker, meanwhile, goes third. 0.2 of a second down on Christian Ceruta. Tom McEwing down 13th in the times at the moment. Andrew Parker moving up to 11th ahead of Paul Fernihoff. Others in there, Will Rayson, Alan Curtis. So we've got a couple of drivers we've not seen so far. Anthony Hambleton has not been on the A grid as it's known so far this year. I think there's one other newcomer as well.
Lee Green is new to our grid, so he's here in a green machine. He is another DPR mechanic who's coming along to join us for the experience at caterhamracer.com And yeah, it's great to have him on board here on the A grid tonight and on the broadcast. I'm sure he's looking forward to it. He's in the DPR workshop alongside David Rowe, so they're sort of next to each other in the 2 simulators they have there at that workshop. And what a facility that is. If you're a Caterham driver, then they offer all sorts of services. They will happily run your car throughout the 270, 310s and 420R. They've got multiple championship experience under their belt and winners all the way along. But it's you have the online facility as well. Simulator driving is such an important part of, even at this club level, learning tracks, especially things like Zandvoort, where you don't get to test very often. Having a fantastic simulator facility means that drivers, and their drivers especially, can go and dial themselves in before they even turn a lap for real.
So coming towards the end of our qualifying session then, just over 90 seconds left on the clock. David Rowe has gone to the top, 155.975. That bumps Max Haynes off the front row. Christian Saruta, the reigning champion in this caterhamracer.com virtual championship, is second quickest, but there's hundredths of a second between them at the top. Just look at those times on the left of the screen. Top 13 covered by less than a second at the moment. At the bottom of the times, currently in 22nd, is Ryan Wilby. It'll be his first race at the top table, if you like, today, with the larger grid being used here at Zandvoort. He's just behind Mr. Platz in 21st position, Nick Platz. And John Lang chasing Lee Green on his debut tonight. It's David Rowe. Is he going to improve this time through? Just coming through the Loyendick corner up over the line. Paul Donkin just ahead of him improves into 4th place, ahead of Ryan Hooker. David Rowe across the line, doesn't go any quicker that time through, so we'll wait to see the last few lap times coming in with 30 seconds on the clock. Here's Paul Ferneyhoff in his almost Rubik's Cube liveried car. He's got Hugo Gomez, the Spaniard, in behind him. Let's see if Ferneyhoff can improve in the number 24, currently 13th in the times. He's into the banking now. Almost like turn 1 at Rockingham in reverse, isn't it? We still miss Rockingham.
Absolutely, yes. And Paul, one of our he absolutely been around since the start of our initiative, and he's been right up in this A grid, sort of fighting to stay there as the level goes up each season. He's sort of having to find extra time for himself, and he does that. He's a extremely strong middle-field driver. Consistency is his key. Good to see him there, smack in the middle of this A grid tonight.
Doesn't improve there, stays 13th. We'll wait to see if there's going to be any further changes. Here is the championship leader, number 111, Max Haynes. A phenomenal season he has had so far. We ride with him. You can see him sliding the Mission Motorsports backed car almost onto the grass there. Paul Donkin's on the grass as well. Track limits, Mr. Donkin.
Yeah. That's not the ideal line out there, is it? I think he was actually just getting out the way of a car on a faster lap there, so we'll let him go away with that. But it's the time has run out in this session, so if they've started a lap, they can complete it. But it does look like David Rowe at the moment. Can he survive the onslaught? Christian Schutter's bailing out of his lap down into the pit lane, so there's nothing to improve there. Let's just let's stick with this start-finish line. We'll see whether anyone does come over and improve their laps. You'll see in the tower on the left hand side if they do ping in a time, but at the moment everyone just settling in, and it looks like they've set their good times for so far.
Yes, most of the cars heading for the pit lane. One car over the line, that's Matt Shepherd. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. Stays in 11th place. David Rowe makes his way into the pits, the black and white car with the green cage. Ian Joyner across the line, he stays 7th. Improvement from Lee Green, he moves up to 15th, the 157.054, but the majority of the field has completed their session. This big 22-car grid. It looks as though David Rowe is going to start on pole for the first time this season. One car we've still got out there at the moment is the 01. That is Jaroslav Cherny, the Czech-born racer.
Run out of time though, unfortunately.
No, he's already taken the flag.
So let's have a look how they stood up.
Let's have a look at the order then. The grid for race 1. The front row will be David Rowe and Christian Saruta. Max Haynes, the championship leader, on the second row alongside Paul Donkin. Row 3, Ryan Hooker and Jaroslav Cherny. Then on row 4, Ian Joyner alongside John Lang. Gianni Lenz, the Italian-descended driver, is on row 5 alongside Hugo Gomez from Spain. It really is an international field here this evening at Zandvoort. Row 6, Matt Shepherd and Andrew Parker. Paul Ferneyhoff on row 7 alongside Tom McEwing. Then newcomer Lee Green alongside Gary Preble. Will Rayson alongside Alan Curtis. Then on row 10, it's Jack Mason, another man we've not, I don't think, seen on the top table so far this season. He starts alongside Anthony Hambleton, his first appearance in an A race this season. Nick Platts and Ryan Wilby looking to complete the grid. Rob Gregor not making it out in qualifying.
Yeah, great qualifying for David Rowe there, Christian Sciarruta, Max Haynes, all the normal names with Donkin and Hooker there. So everyone that we've sort of seen on the podiums consistently throughout the season so far, back up there. Cherney, we saw him absolutely injecting himself at Croft, second race on the podium there. So, and he's sort of learning the car still. He was late into this season, so it's good to see him there in sixth place and always a threat. We have got 22 cars to try and get into turn one, and that's no mean feat. I wish all our drivers well.
Yes, indeed. Best of luck to all of them. This is going to be certainly not for the faint of heart here at the Zandvoort circuit as they charge their way down towards Tarzan for the first time. I hope none of them end up in the sand dunes.
Yeah, I mean, then always a possibility, isn't it? But like you say, let's fingers crossed they get around that first lap. We've had some excellent racing this year, and it certainly starts with them getting through that first corner.
Yes, indeed. So it's the black and white car with the green cage of David Rowe in pole position, the Brawn GP lookalike of Christian Sciarruta, car number 2 alongside him, looking for his second win of the season. 50 points on offer for a race victory. Max Haynes, 3 wins out of 4 so far, the black car on row 2. He's got Paul Donkin alongside him. Then Ryan Hooker, the green and white machine on row 3, and Yaroslav Cherney, the all-red car on row 6. They're going to be your main contenders for victory. Who are you backing here, Chris?
Well, David Rowe showing some speed, put the time in the simulator and has plunked it on pole position. He has had a bit of inconsistency, so that he's going to be due to, see whether that he can get that under control. But then again, Christian Sciarruta as well, someone we normally see absolutely running away with it, has had a few ups and downs this season already. So it's hard to see past Max Haynes, and Cherney would be a sort of a dark horse for that one as well. So I'm going to go with Max Haynes on this one, just due to the consistency he's shown this year so far.
I'm going to say Christian Sciarruta to pick up a second win here. We know that Paul Donkin and Yaroslav Cherney missed the opening round at Alton Park, so they're looking to make up for lost points here. It's waiting on the grid at the moment, this 15-minute race to get underway. It's quite a long lap here at Zandvoort, so we should get about 8 laps in this first of 2 stanzas here this evening. The red light's about to come on then. It's time to go racing with the caterhamracer.com 270R Virtual Championship here at the Zandvoort circuit. The red light's coming on. 4 lights, 5 lights, 6 lights, and when they go out we will be underway and racing. Here we go. Down towards Tarzan for the first time. Everybody's away. Well, look at the size of this grid heading down towards Tarzan. One car pulling off into the pits at the back. We'll try and identify that in a moment. Somebody with a problem already, but it's David Rowe who leads. Max Haynes has come through ahead of Christian Sciarruta up in a second place. Ryan Hooker in 4th. Donkin on the inside. The 2 red cars there. Yaroslav Cherney runs out a little bit wide. They've got through Tarzan for the first time. Up towards the Hugenholtz left-hander. Yaroslav Cherney has got ahead of Paul Donkin up into 5th position as we look down from our helicopter camera, and already they're starting to string out a little bit of side-by-side racing in there behind Paul Donkin. That was Joyner Gomez, and John Lang is in there as well, so it's very close already. John Lang is up there on the outside. I think that is in the purple car. So side-by-side with the Spaniard Hugo Gomez. Max Haynes has a look towards the inside as they head out towards the back of the circuit for the first time, but it is David Rowe who has got the advantage, has just about held it from his pole position.
As they flow around the back part of this, indeed some really quick right-handers, really tricky to pick your line and your apex through these corners, but the driver's managing it well. Donkin losing a couple of places off the line that time through, and actually Ryan Hooker, who's on the grass there, was the one that had made up a couple of places from his qualifying position. So some early moves from those two, but Donkin will be looking to settle into this race. And remember, they are thinking about their championship scores as this gaggle of cars heads up to the chicane for the first time.
Here they come then up towards the Hans Ernst Bocht complex. Side by side there, Ryan Hooker and Yaroslav Cherney trying to move ahead as they go into the left-hander. Oh, there's contact there. Paul Donkin got a knock from Ian Joyner. There's more contact further back, and spinning out there, John Lang into the tyre wall. The 48 car has gone. He'll rejoin further down the field. Still Rowe from Haynes and Sciarruta at the front. Cherney is up into 4th place as they go through the banking for the first time. Christian Sciarruta almost pushing Max Haynes. We're with him as they head onto the straight. He's in the slipstream. He's going to try and slipstream his way. Well, slipstreaming, he's almost bump drafting Max Haynes there. This isn't NASCAR racing, Christian. Down the outside towards Tarzan. I don't think he's going to get through on the brakes there. Side by side behind Cherney and Hooker still together. It's still David Rowe who leads the way. Very close for second, very close for fourth in the early stages, and everybody else trying to be sixth.
Yeah, absolutely piling around the same bit of tarmac there. It gets tight through this section, and they all just about get back in to line astern for this corner. Like I was saying, they have got a championship to think about. We have drop score system just as we do in real life, so they will be able to drop 2 of their scores by the end of this championship. But this early in the season, you definitely don't want to be leaning on that. And the fights are absolutely up and down through this field. I can see the positions changing all over the place as the drivers negotiate this tight, twisty, banked and fast-flowing corner. It's a sort of definitely a course of 2 halves.
Paul Verneyhoff has dropped back a little, I noticed there. He started 13th, he's down to 18th, so a bit of time to make up. The first 3 are now together at the front. Christian Saruta on the tail of Max Haynes. They've closed in a little on David Rowe in the middle part of this second lap. 4th place is still Cherney ahead of Hooker, then a gap back to Paul Donkin in 6th place. 7th is Joyner, then Gomez, Tom McEwing, Matt Shepherd rounding out the top 10. Gianni Lenz has dropped back into 11th ahead of Andrew Parker. They go through in the foreground. Anthony Hambleton has dropped to the rear of the field. Look at the flames flashing from the exhaust as they come down into the Hans Ernst complex for the second time. Then it's up towards the right-hander at Kumho and into the banking to complete lap number 2, with David Rowe still hanging on in the lead. And
it's an unusual sight to see Max Haynes firmly in a battle still this stage of the race. Normally he's worked out how to get to the lead and disappearing off up the road, so he's not going to have everything his own way this time. And Christian Stewart is once again right on his tail as they come out onto the straight, deciding this time to go up the inside and try and make that pass. It's going to have a good run on him as they head into Tarzan this time through, and he's even got a little bit of a toe there for David, so he gets that move complete even before the braking zone, and he is late enough on the brakes. Cherney remains in that 4th place. Ryan Hooker really trying to fight him for it though, but there's a little bit of a swap in that top 3 then, and Christian Saruta showing that he's got a bit of momentum going at the moment.
Christian Saruta makes it DPR Motorsport 1 and 2. Perfect slipstreaming move down into the braking area for Tarzan. He's done the fastest lap of the race as well, and now he's going after David Rowe at the front of the field. They run wide out over the curve as they come out towards the back of the circuit once again, down towards the right-hander at Shivlak. Christian Saruta may be thinking about a move for the lead. David Rowe moves to the inside to cover as they come over the brow out into the country towards the sand dunes. Saruta is not hanging about here. Through Shivlak they come, then up towards Masters Corner. Who is going to be leading as they come out of here? Saruta won't get the inside line away through the fast right-hander. Still Cherney in 4th, then Hooker, Donkin in 6th, and he's dropped the rest of the field. He and Joyner in 7th. They slide their way around turn 9 up towards the long left at turn 10, and Max Haynes took advantage there of that slight mistake by Saruta. He's back up into 2nd place.
Yeah, just a little bit too heavy on the brakes, just as the car was trying to hold on for him, but the tyre said enough and sent him into an oversteer moment. It's good to gather it all back together, but he's lost that momentum. He was the car definitely hounding ones in front, so he's got to do it all again, and David Rowe's been given a little bit of a reprieve there, and I'm sure he was fully attention into his mirrors as we're seeing a little bit of movement happening here between Gomez and Tom McEwing, fighting backwards and forwards. McEwing gets the better of it as we exit out the chicane that time through.
Up towards the banking, that's the battle for 8th position. Looks like we've lost Anthony Hambleton. He's pulled into the pits, unfortunately, so problems for him. Hopefully he'll see him back out for race 2 as the leaders go through the banking once again. Rowe from Haynes, Saruta, Cherney, Hooker. 6th place is Paul Donkin, and up the inside Saruta has retaken 2nd from Max Haynes out of the banking. Great fight between these two. David Rowe keeping a lead of just over half a second. 0.666 was the gap briefly there. Number of the beast. As back up the inside, Hugo Gomez retakes 8th place from Tom McEwing. Further back, Matt Shepherd coming under fire from Andrew Parker on the inside there. They're just behind Gianni Lenz. This is the battle for 10th position. There's battles everywhere you look, as typifies Caterham Racing everywhere.
Yep, and every single position you see on track is worth a point, and therefore it's essential in your championship charge that each one of those steps you can move forward is important. As now Max Haynes takes the opportunity to absolutely hound Christian as they go through the dunes onto one of the really bumpy parts of this track into this exceptionally quick right-hander. It's a fantastic corner in real life. You really get to fling this Caterham car over the hill and down the other side, and then, like I say, these wide open sweeper corners where you must maintain as much speed as you can, and Ryan Hooker there, drifting a little bit wider than he might have wanted, and this is where we saw Christian lose the rear of his car on this right-hander. Again, easy to get stuck in the middle of nowhere there in no man's land, but the drivers here all showing how to maximise as they try and clip this left-hander, carry the speed out down towards the next best overtaking opportunity in the chicane.
This is the DRS board there, no DRS needed on these machines. It's all about good old-fashioned slipstreaming. David Rowe has actually pulled away about a couple of lengths as they head into the Hans Ernst complex this time. Saruta still holding second ahead of the championship leader, Max Haynes. They've been virtually glued together for the whole of the season, well, except for Croft, where Max Haynes ran away and won by a country mile in both races. Everybody else slugged it out for second. Well and truly in the battle this time. Jaroslav Cherny is still fourth, ahead of Ryan Hooker. Paul Donkin in sixth. Then it's Ian Joyner, Tom McEwen, Hugo Gomez and Gianni Lenz. We're on board with Max Haynes. Nearly gives Christian Saruta a tap there as they come over the line. This is great racing between the two of them. They're bump drafting almost NASCAR style once again. It's pretty close behind, as you can see. This time Saruta holds it as they come into Tarzan. Just under 7 minutes to go, so we're already past halfway in this first caterhamracer.com event of the evening, and David Rowe has held the lead all the way, but only just.
Yeah, bump drafting, definitely not something you can do in real life. The radiators on these Caterhams are right at the front there, but you could see the speed difference between the car following and the car in front, and that does exist in real life. But yeah, in real life we would jink out and use that slingshot to take over, but I think they're just spotting the danger of David Rowe disappearing up the road there, and neither of them wanting to let him do that. Tom McEwen and Gomez have been sort of back and forth for the last quite a few laps now, so this battle is one that's developing nicely, and at the moment McEwen holds sway, but each lap it does seem like Gomez does get up ahead of him at times. So let's just watch this battle and say it's nice to see that the battles do form up, and there's close gaps all the way down the field.
There certainly are, yes. Caterham racing at its best, running wide there. Tom McEwen, that's going to allow Hugo Gomez to go through at the right-hander on the far side of the circuit. That's through turn 9. Yes, looks like the Spaniard has got the move done, almost side by side through there. And mentioning bump drafting, as McEwen fights back on the inside, the first thing that happens when you try and bump draft in these cars is your nose cone flies off and or blocks your radiator, as we saw in the graduates at Brands Hatch this year.
It's not an uncommon sight. We saw some of that at Croft as well, with the noses flapping in the air, and it not only a distraction, but like you say, the radiator's the first thing that will contact, and then obviously a punctured radiator is end of race. But this Tom McEwen now behind Gomez, so that battle continues to swap backwards and forwards as we head into this race.
Gianni Lenz is catching him as well. David Rowe still leads. Yes, I remember at Brands Hatch as well. Not only the nose cone comes off, your bonnet can fly off as well, can't it, Steve Arnell?
Absolutely. When those catches that can only take so much pressure, once the nose cone's gone, as Saruta jinks to the inside, he threw him an absolute dummy on Rowe, and what a move to get him down the inside into the turn 1. David always little lost the rear end though as he turned through the middle of that corner, so a great move on the way in, but he just couldn't control the speed. Is he going to still maintain his second place? No, Max Haynes is going to demote him further, so he went for the move, but it's cost him more than it's gained.
I don't know about Tarzan, that was a banzai move there into the first corner from Christian Saruta. He went briefly to first, but then overshot and is down into third place. They're being reeled in by Jaroslav Cherny and Ryan Hooker as a result of that as well. Paul Donkin will want to make it 6 as they head out towards the back of the circuit. Once again, Saruta will be fired up here in the second of the DPR Motorsport cars, trying to recover. The team boss leading the way, David Rowe. Can he hang on with just under 4.5 minutes of this race to go? Out they go towards Shivlak once again, then onto Masters Corner. They swing their way through now, clear of Donkin, who's rather on his own in 6th position. A gap back then of about 2.5 seconds to Ian Joyner in 7th place. This is great stuff. Now Max Haynes trying to get a run for the lead. He'll have to get in position as they come down the straight, I think, towards the Hans Ernst complex and try and slipstream his way through. We haven't really seen any major passing on this part of the circuit as yet, but Max Haynes is in position here as we go to the helicopter camera. He's going for the inside. He's weaving about there on the tail of David Rowe, holds the inside line and will just about keep his lead.
Yep, David Rowe sort of having to go slightly defensive a couple of times then, and as soon as you have to do that, as soon as the nerves start kicking in and you start defending, you do lose even a bit more speed. But he's managed the rest situation well so far, but the Jaws music is playing for Cherny, who's arriving on the scene quite quickly, and that won't have gone unnoticed by Christian Schroeter in that third place. So furthest behind Christian's been since the start of this race. Max Haynes going to the outside then as we head into Tarzan this time. Is he going to get it through?
might get the move done before we get to Tarzan. They're up alongside wheel to wheel, Senna and Mansell style down the straight there. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Haynes cuts ahead into Tarzan. That's brilliant driving from Max Haynes. Can he hold it on the exit? He's done it. That is the move of the season so far from Max Haynes. David Rowe down to second. Around the outside at Tarzan. I don't think I've ever seen that done before, but he's got a wheel onto the grass there coming into Hugenholtz. Just about holds it together. Christian Saruta now on the tail of David Rowe. Nothing between these three.
No, what a move. It's like you say, he had the momentum around the outside though and just had enough. A move absolutely on the edge of what's possible, and yeah, the great driving from where Christian lost the rear end of his car the lap before. Max Haynes actually managed to hold together, but he's now having to go defensive. That's going to bunch these three up, and as they're battling, Cherney's next up. He's going to be looking to see whether they can pick up the pieces. We've only got 2 minutes of this race to go. David Rowe defending down the inside. Is he going to look down the inside? There he is on the inside of Haynes coming into this next right-hander, and he is up the inside. Great move there. Quite opportunistic. Well, that's the word, isn't it? Opportunistic. But Max Haynes has lost out. Christian Saruta now going around the outside. Can he bring his head of steam into action? Here comes Cherney to join in.
Well, this is fantastic stuff between these three. They're almost side by side for the whole of the lap so far. Max Haynes has just about got the lead back again from David Rowe. This is towing Cherney and Hooker up onto the back of them. See the red Caterham closing up there. That's Jaroslav Cherney side by side for second. Through goes Saruta into the Hans Ernst complex. Up towards the banking they go. There's going to be some serious slipstreaming here as they come out of the banking this time up towards the start-finish line. We're coming around to start the final lap this time. It's time for them to start making their finishing moves, getting themselves into position. They say the place you don't want to be leading in a Caterham is coming out of the final corner, because you will get slipstream. Look at them all moving over towards the pit wall, and here comes Cherney down the outside with a bit of bravery. He could snatch this one. Up the outside now comes Saruta, side by side with Max Haynes. Cherney's going for the outside on David Rowe. They are absolutely together through Tarzan. Ryan Hooker just looking on from fourth place. He's biding his time, looking to make his finishing move. Paul Donkin behind them, but it's all about these five. Almost wheel banging there between David Rowe and Jaroslav Cherney, who's through into third place into Hugenholtz for the last time.
What a move by the whole field there. It's absolutely millimetres between these cars as they head off down the back, not straight, I think we'll call it. It's a bumpy, curvy bit of track. There's not many overtaking opportunities, but Christian Schutter's right on within the toe of Max Haynes out front. These two looking like they've got a bit of contact behind us. Cherney and David Rowe come together again. It's Cherney in that third place, and it is Max Haynes who's just moving into the lead about the right time. But like you say, does he want to be leading going onto that back straight?
Well, this is more like a Super Sport 300 World Championship motorcycle race at the moment. They constantly slipstream each other. Haynes and Saruta have broken away very slightly from the rest of the pack. David Rowe sideways. He's almost lost it there. He's down to fifth. It could be sixth because Paul Donkin's going to go through as well. Disaster for David Rowe after he led for so long. And now Christian Saruta is on the attack. Third place is Cherney ahead of Hooker. Paul Donkin up to fifth. They're coming up towards the complex for the final time. Then it's up towards the banking. Max Haynes defending from the reigning champion Christian Saruta. Is it going to be win 4 out of 5 for Max Haynes this season? They're heading towards the banking now. It's Christian Saruta looking to get into the slipstream and snatch it before the line. Cherney has come through nicely into third place ahead of Hooker, but it's about these two for the victory. What can Christian Saruta do? He gets up behind him on the run into the banking. Max Haynes holds the lower groove. And here comes Saruta. He's going to try and pull out of the slipstream on the run up towards the line. It's going to be a photo finish between the two of them. Who got that? We'll wait and confirm in a second. I think Haynes won it. We'll await confirmation on the rest of the times. It looks to me as though Max Haynes got it by the width of a tyre tread almost there. What a sensational race.
Absolutely brilliant over the line there. What a toe drag. He kind of lost the toe, Christian, just a touch there just as they entered the straight. Max Haynes threw it to the outside and it took him a little while to get it back. I think had he been in the toe right from through the corner, he might well have got that. I think there's only going to be a thousandth in that.
We'll wait and see what the timekeepers here at Zandvoort decide as the rest of the pack comes over the line. Jaroslav Cherney took third ahead of Ryan Hooker. Poor David Rowe dropping to fifth. He did get back ahead of Paul Donkin, but having led for so long, you have to feel for him. Gary Preble, the last one to make it home. We unfortunately lost Anthony Hambleton early on in that one. We'll have a look at the finishing order. Then 16 thousandths of a second the winning margin for Max Haynes, win number 4 of the season over Christian Saruta, and Jaroslav Cherny on the podium in 3rd place ahead of Ryan Hooker. Poor David Rowe, bad luck to him, dropping down to 5th ahead of Paul Donkin. Ian Joyner, good result in 7th ahead of Hugo Gomez. That's his best finish so far ahead of Tom McEwing. Andrew Parker rounding out the top 10. Then beyond that, Matt Shepherd, a better run from him after a tough day at Croft ahead of Gianni Lenz. Jack Mason, a good 13th ahead of John Lang. Then Will Rayson, Paul Ferniehoff, Alan Curtis, Nick Platts, Lee Green, and Ryan Wilby. Gary Preble was the final finisher because, unfortunately, we lost Anthony Hambleton after a lap.
Ooh.
Right, pause to get my breath back needed after that one, I think. Max Haynes, well, he may have dominated both races at Croft, but he certainly didn't have things his own way that time.
I'm going to say I called it, but I don't think I was very comfortable for the most of that race. But yeah, he sort of just came to the lead at exactly the right time, exactly the kind of racing attitude you need. Like you say, David Rowe holding on for so long, but unfortunately not able to hold on towards the end. And as soon as the rest of the battle pack caught up, he was shuffled out of line slightly and left to pick up the pieces. To still 5th place in a battle like that is not the end of the world. Paul Donkin would be a bit disappointed to have ended in 6th. He didn't really make an impression after losing those 2 places off of the line. But Cherny coming through, like we said, he was a dark horse for this one, and he was fighting hard for the that lead group by the end.
Well, it's hard to know the words to sum up what a superb race that was here at Zandvoort. So we must say thanks to our sponsors, 121 Driver Coaching, DPR Motorsport, and all our other supporters here at Zandvoort. Thank you to all the volunteer marshals as well. We couldn't go racing without them. They enjoyed the action, certainly, in that one. So that result will form the grid for race number 2 coming up in just a moment. Will be Max Haynes moving up into pole position this time with Christian Saruta alongside David Rowe looking to come through from the 3rd row of the grid. Hopefully we'll see everybody back out for our 2nd race of the evening.
Yep, I think Ryan Wilby had to take a drive-through penalty almost immediately because he knew he had a drunk start, which is why we saw him pulling into the pits, and then we didn't see what happened to Anthony Hambleton. But yeah, unfortunately he wasn't able to continue, so maybe he had some contact with the barrier. We do run a damage on the server, so it is possible to break your car sufficiently that you can't complete the race. But yeah, a fantastic race, and what better way to finish a great 15-minute race than just by having another one. So let's get everyone lined up and let's go for it all again.
Okay, the car's already up onto the grid. Pole position on the outside here at Zandvoort. It's the black car of Max Haynes who will lead the field away this time. I think the one to watch this time could be Jaroslav Cherny. He's making up for lost points, having missed the first meeting of the year at Alton Park. Failed to score on that occasion, but was well in the points, was on the podium in race 2 at Croft. So looking for his first win here. Saruta positioned on the inside. He's got his wheels pointing towards the outside.
It's quite easy to do that. I hope he recognises the fact he's got his wheels turned to one side before he starts going. Otherwise, that's going to be a horrible move to the left. But yeah, it's easy to have your wheel turned a full rotation wrong way or the other. Hopefully, he'll notice it. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I think Cherny is the person to watch here, and I would call that from 3rd place. Yeah.
So waiting to get underway then with the 6th race of the season for the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship. Look out also for Ian Joyner. He had a good race. There was a little bit of contact at one point, I think, involving John Lang. We saw him get spun out, so he's going to start to fight his way back up the order in this one. It's tricky to do that here at Zandvoort. You have to get the slipstreaming absolutely right, as we saw for our leaders there. Unfortunately, we didn't get to focus on too much, barring the lead battle in that last race, because there was so much going on at the front of the field. Christian Saruta has straightened his car up as the countdown is on. The marshals are in position around the circuits. We'll get the green flag from the back, and then once everybody's happy, the red lights will come on for another 15-minute race for the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship here at the Circuit Zandvoort in the north of the Netherlands. The red lights come on then, 4, 5, 6. Waiting for the red lights to go out, and race 2 gets underway. Super start by Max Haynes. He shot off like a scalded cat as the red lights went out. Everybody else away well. Down towards that first corner they go. Max Haynes leads, and Jaroslav Cherny has got exactly the start he wanted. A poor getaway from Christian Saruta. He's down to 4th because Ryan Hooker has come through as well. They go through Tarzan for the first time. Somebody running wide, that's Matt Shepherd and Gianni Lenz have both run wide. They'll rejoin at the back of the field. Through they come towards the Hugenholtz corner for the first time, through the banking. Quite as steeply banked as the Luyendijk corner at the end of the lap, but the first two have broken away slightly already. Cherney looking to do battle with Max Haynes for the lead. Ryan Hooker up into third place looking for another podium, and Sharuta rather caught sleeping off the line. He's down to fourth, David Rowe on his tail.
Yeah, tricky off the start. A little bit of contact there again with Ryan Hooker, having squirrely as he goes into this right-hander. But it was Max Haynes, like you said, absolutely hooked up the start, and Cherney must have done as well, because both of them just leapt the field. And say Max Haynes, it just hooked up exactly as the lights went out. Perfect reactions. Little bit of squirreliness for all those cars in that midfield as we head on deep into this first lap.
Saruta lurking as they come through turn 9 in fourth place. It's Rowe, a little gap to Donkin and Gomez fighting it out for sixth place. So Gomez has got ahead of Ian Joyner, Tom McEwing and Jack Mason rounding out the top 10. Jack Mason with a good start, just ahead of John Lang. Then Paul Ferneyhoff in the patchwork liveried car behind, and a small gap back to our newcomer Lee Green, who's certainly settled in well in the midfield. Joyner on the inside attacking Tom McEwing in the number 89. Good fight going on between them for 8th place. McEwing getting through there at the Hans Ernst chicane. It's up towards Kumho corner and the banking for the first time.
But it's Gomez. Donkin losing the rear as they went round the side. Is he going to catch that? He's certainly going to lose a lot of speed, but well done for grabbing hold of and not losing a position. But McEwing will be looking and tasty for making a move up into Tarzan this time through. It was a bit more contact there between to Saruta. They are really taking risk with that contact along the straight, and whilst it's maybe helping them, it is causing the cars to really sort of react badly, and one time that might well send them into the barrier. But McEwing and Gomez had a race-long battle that time. I think Gomez came out on top, and Gomez now has made the early moves up here in his white and blue machine ahead of Donkin now in that sixth place.
Hugo Gomez, this is the best we've seen him run. He crashed out of one of the races at the season opener at Alton Park due to a steering failure, hit the barriers coming off Cascades, but a fantastic way to make up for it here. He's up into 6th position now, trying to chase down David Rowe. Contact with him and Christian Saruta. We saw Saruta, I thought was going to get spun out coming out of the banking, but he's held it together. They chase Ryan Hooker in the 121 performance coaching car. Ryan going very well indeed, the former Porsche racer among many other things. David Rowe trying to make a move as they head out towards Shivlak and Masters corners once again. Donkin coming under fire now from Tom McEwing. Then it's Joyner, Lang, Jack Mason and Paul Ferneyhoff next in the order. Gary Preble in the white car there, running wide towards the back as well, coming through from the back row of the grid. This is Alan Curtis fighting away with Matt Shepherd, recovering after his first corner off. Gianni Lenz running wide again there is behind Ryan Wilby. Andrew Parker has dropped to the rear of the field there, not too sure what happened for him.
No, I didn't catch that either, but another driver who's not had the best season so far as consistency. Got a bit ping-ponged occasionally, and so yeah, not having the best run, but Donkin finds himself in about that 7th place as everything's sort of spreading out a little bit in the front groups, but in the rear groups here, they're absolutely stuck together still.
Yeah, I noticed Anthony Hambleton not making it back out for race 2 as well, so whatever his problem was in the first race sadly proved terminal. His car is in pit lane. 21 cars out there, 11 minutes of the race to go. Here comes Gary Preble challenging Lee Green as we come onto the straight. Gary Preble, the king of Castle Combe as some call him. He's had so many successes in saloon cars there before moving into Caterham racing. Still races his Honda Civic, very modified Honda Civic, occasionally with the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. He goes through for 14th place into Tarzan. Max Haynes still leads, set the fastest lap of the race. He's got a gap of about 0.8 of a second now over Yaroslav Cherney. Ryan Hooker in 3rd. David Rowe has got ahead of Christian Saruta up into 4th place now. Their dice still going on, and it may as well be strung together, those two cars. They've been inches apart all race long. Hugo Gomez still going well in 6th. The main battle is for that 4th place.
Yeah, overall, I don't think their tactic is working. They're obviously trying to work together as far as pushing each other along, but overall they're losing out to these 3 in front of them, and it's not working out for them. So whatever tactic they've got, it's not pulling together like they might hope. And Gomez doing a fantastic job in that 6th place to not only not only solidify it, he's catching up with this battle in front of him now.
Saruta having a look as they head through turns 9 and 10 with 1/3 of the race gone. Here's a battle further back. That's John Lang making a move on Tom McEwing. Ian Joyner is dropping back slightly in the blue car. He's down to 10th now behind these two. Jack Mason and Paul Ferneyhoff next in the order. Then it's Will Rayson. Look at this side by side along the straight down towards the chicane. Paul Donkin just ahead of them down in 7th place. We're normally used to seeing him up a little higher than that as John Lang. This is where he spun out in the first race and hit the tyre wall. Just giving Tom McEwing room there. Then it's Joyner, Mason, Ferneyhoff. We get back to Rayson, Matt Shepherd. Gary Preble is next in the order now, coming through from the back row of the grid. But it is still Max Haynes by almost a second now, ahead of Jaroslav Cerny and Ryan Hooker.
Yeah, that front battle has definitely strung itself out. We'll keep an eye on those gaps, but it's this battle pack that is really giving the action right now. Here's Paul Ferneyhoff coming up behind Jack Mason and Ian Joyner for that back end of the rear top 10. So fighting hard for every single position. Remember, they all go towards their championship scores. But yeah, Paul Ferneyhoff, mid-pack racer at the moment. I don't think he'll mind me saying that too much. He's, let's say, strong middle-pack driver and has to fight every time as Jack Mason hangs the rear of that car out, but manages to get it all hauled up by the time they go into the hairpin. This fully banked hairpin. We see even the Formula 1 cars using the top lane there, don't we? Because it's such a tight bend down the bottom, but the Caterham's fully capable of using all that banking and going right down to the apex.
John Lang trying to make a move there on Tom McEwing for 8th position. Don't think he got the move done there, coming out towards the Slotemaker corner. Here are the leaders, and Max Haynes has started to escape just as he did at Croft ahead of Jaroslav Cerny. Ryan Hooker shadowing him in 3rd, and still these two for 4th place, almost stuck together, David Rowe and Christian Saruta. This will be Christian's lowest finish of the season, I would think, if it stays like this. Although, no, he did get a penalty in race 2 at Croft, didn't he, which dropped him back. They had
I'd say both David and Christian both had a bit inconsistent seasons compared to their normal ones. They're not used to having cars in front of them, I have to say, and these three out front have been the other consistent forces, and it's just Donkin who seems to be just misfiring tonight, whereas he has been well at the lead of the pack. I've noticed Gianni Lenz and Nick Platz, they've been fighting backwards and forwards, and they've now got Ryan Wilby for good measure on their tail. So these two having an absolutely fantastic race down here in 18th and 19th place.
Yes, Gianni Lenz has dropped down the order in this one. There's Nick Platz, who we saw go flying over a curb in the qualifying session in behind him in the orange car. Then it's Wilby and Andrew Parker. We seem to have lost Paul Donkin. He's dropping down the timing screen, so he was 7th, but the red machine out of the race. New fastest lap by Ryan Hooker. He's up with Jaroslav Cerny now in the fight for 2nd place, so that's exactly what Max Haynes wants, because the harder they fight each other, the easier it will be for Max to make a break.
Yeah, so Ryan was briefly ahead, but Cerny, I think, is going to win this battle because he's going to be on the inside for the hairpin this time through. But Ryan Hooker showing that he's got the pace to catch up there to Cerny, and not only that, he was ahead of him, but on the outside as they went through Tarzan that time. It's like, say, Christian Charuta's ahead of Rowe in that battle behind in their kind of push and shove game that they're playing, and Gomez is just fading away, not quite able to catch up. He's 2.4 seconds back, and at one point it was closing down, but it looks to be stretching again as these drivers sort of push each other forwards now in their battles rather than trip over each other.
Max Haynes is checking out at the front of the field. Trying to go around the outside is Ryan Hooker as they come down towards Masters Corner. 4th place is now Saruta. He's finally got ahead of David Rowe. Now it's going to be a 4-way battle, I would think, for 2nd place. 6 minutes of the race to go. They have dropped Hugo Gomez. He's nearly 2.5 seconds back. There he is. We just caught a glimpse of the white car in 6th position. Tom McEwing is 7th ahead of John Lang. Then Ian Joyner and Jack Mason rounding up the top 10 with the demise of Paul Donkin, unfortunately. We ride on board briefly with Jaroslav Cerny, and it is now 4 for 2nd place as they head into the complex. Cerny just ahead, and Saruta nearly cuts the left-hander there. He was up on the curb trying to take Ryan Hooker in the 1-2-1 car for that 3rd place. This is all playing into Max Haynes' hands. He's nearly 2.5 seconds clear now. He's gained at least a second on that last lap alone as we come towards the final 3rd of this race. Jaroslav Cerny trying to stay ahead, but now Christian Saruta definitely in the slipstream of Ryan Hooker. He's more than in the slipstream, he's making a move on the inside. We must have heard us talking about him being in a slightly lower position than usual, because now he's going for it and surely going to take 3rd.
Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it? He's got the inside covered off. David Rowe having to sort of do a watching brief there, but Christian Schroot does that make that stick. David Rowe seeing whether he can make any inroads on the exit, but it doesn't look like it. There was a battle heading down here. Tom McEwing leads that John Lang battle as well at the moment, so he's having a little bit of a topsy-turvy race, but currently is looking down the rear of Hugo Gomez, who we had that race-long battle with before. But it is this lead group for 2nd place now, as Max Haynes does look like he's checked out in the lead.
We'll wait to see if they can catch him up, because Jaroslav Černý is trying to stay clear of this group, with Saruta now in third place, and he needs to push on here if they're going to try and keep up with Max Haynes. The gap is 2.3 seconds to our leader, with only 3/4 of a second covering the next three. And there's one car in pit lane, unfortunately. We lost Paul Donkin earlier on. I think that's the car that failed to start the race, Anthony Hambleton. Oh, we've lost Hugo Gomez. I've just noticed on the timing we've lost Gomez. That's a shame. So the battle with McEwing, Lang and Joyner is now for 6th position. That's a great shame, because Hugo was on for his best ever result. Second place is still Cerny.
In my ears, Dave, I heard some tyres going over the gravel at the top end of the circuit. I wonder whether he's had a disconnect on his steering wheel once more, a steering failure, because he was quick to then, or maybe a connection failure. Either way, that's a real sad end to Hugo Gomez's race. He was absolutely pristine up until that point, hadn't he?
Yes, indeed. His best drive so far. He said some tyre squeal there. Maybe he went off on some oil. We'll have to wait and confirm. Maybe he just hit some sand that had blown onto the circuit. He said that's a grip problem here earlier. Meantime, Max Haynes has extended his lead by a couple of tenths of a second, with just under 3.5 minutes of this race to go. So a couple of laps to go over the line. Jaroslav Černý is now under fire from Christian Saruta. There's Hooker and David Rowe. They're going to start to fight for 4th place. Saruta's going to the outside as they come into the braking area for Tarzan. They swing their way around the pit lane exits. Jaroslav Černý just holds off the reigning champion. They're well ahead of the rest now, these four. The retirement of Hugo Gomez has left a bit of a hole in the field, and Tom McEwing runs wide there out of Tarzan. John Lang is going to go through and up into 6th position. It's the best we've seen him run so far this year, but Tom McEwing's got the inside line for Hugenholtz. They're still side by side as they run up the hill. Bash, they bang wheels. Good save, Tom McEwing. That sends him into Ian Joyner. Oh dear. Robbins Racing, as they say, but they've all survived that.
Yeah, that was all a little bit ugly and miscalculated, but John Lang able to hold that higher line out there, and I think Tom McEwing was a bit surprised to see he was still well and truly on his outside there, and like you say, a bit of side-to-side contact sent his car a bit out of control, and then picking up Ian Joyner for good measure, but all of them maintain their forward momentum, and it's for Paul Fidehoff and Jack Mason are ready to see whether they're going to pick up those pieces, but all these drivers absolutely pushing, and that's Tom McEwing losing the rear. We've seen that a few times around that corner, haven't we, where the rear end just gives up if you try take a little bit too much. Joyner now down the inside. McEwing absolutely not willing to give an inch out there on track if he can possibly help it, and carrying the speed around the outside, but it looks like Joyner may well have made that move stick at the moment before we get to the chicane at least.
Joyner's fought back very nicely here, because he fell back on the first lap. He's now side by side with relative newcomer to Caterham Racing, but very successful so far in his short career, Tom McEwing, holding that 7th place at the moment. Next in the order, Paul Ferniehoff's going well, ahead of Jack Mason. Then a gap back to Matt Shepherd in 11th, Will Rayson behind him. And then we have Lee Green, Gary Preble and Alan Curtis rounding out the top 15. The leaders have gone over the line, so we're into the final lap of the evening here at the Zandvoort circuit. David Rowe looking to take 4th place from Ryan Hooker. He's got the inside line into Tarzan. He's very late on the brakes. He locks up, but he's got the move done, up into 4th place. Good move by David Rowe. Absolutely
on the limit of the brakes there. You saw the front right just puff a little bit of tyre smoke a couple of times just as he was right on the limit, but really got it hooked up nicely and stopped on the apex, and Ryan Hooker didn't really have an answer for that at that point.
There's Ryan Hooker down to the back of this group. He'll try and slipstream his way ahead of them on the run to the finish, but look at Christian Saruta, the way he's going on the tail of Jaroslav Černý, right on the tail, and he clips the tail of Jaroslav Černý as they head out into the back of the circuit. He goes through. There was contact again there on the run through the right-hander, and David Rowe doesn't need asking twice. He goes through as well. Černý won't be too happy there. Aggression from Christian Saruta, and now these two are together again. David Rowe, we've seen this before. This was for 4th place earlier on. Now it's for 2nd. There's a real needle creeping into this battle. In goes the bumper, you could say there, if this was a stock car race. David Rowe hits the back of Saruta. Černý back up the inside. Ryan Hooker's watching all of this, thinking, well, if these three tangle, I'm going to get 2nd place.
I don't think Needles sums this up. I think there's full-on fisticuffs going on right now. These cars are contacting and upsetting each other, but like you say, Černý will be a bit miffed that he lost that place as they try and get full wide coming into the chicane. David Rowe right on the tail again of Christian Saruta. Černý having to capitulate right now, but will we hear anything in the steward's office about that afterwards? Let's wait and see. Ryan Hooker currently watching all this take place, but Christian Chiruta has come out on top. But let's not forget our leader while we still watch our battle pack. We'll try and watch them all across the line as we come and finish this last lap of the Zandvoort circuit.
Well, here at Zandvoort, it's from one Super Max to another. Max Haynes completes his double. Just one defeat for him so far this season. Who is going to be second? We'll have to wait and go to the timekeepers. I think it was Christian Chiruta ahead of Rowe, Cherney and Hooker as quickly as that over the line. Next group is headed by John Lang. Then a photo finish between Ian Joyner and Tom McEwing. Paul Fernyhough comes in 9th and Jack Mason in 10th. Goodness me, then Shepherd, Rayson, Lee Green 13th. Gary Preble from the back row comes through for 14th place. Next we've got Gianni Lenz, side by side across the line between Alan Curtis and Nick Platts, Ryan Wilby, Andrew Parker, and then a couple of non-finishers. They were knocking 8 bells out of each other there in that battle for second place, and Max Haynes said, well, if you're going to fight each other, I'm going to clear off into the distance just like I did at Croft. So Max Haynes takes the win by 4.5 seconds in the end. It was Chiruta in second place, just ahead of David Rowe, Yaroslav Cherney and Ryan Hooker, all provisional at the moment. Of course, those three covered by 0.3 of a second over the line. John Lang in 6th place, his best result of the season, ahead of Ian Joyner. Tom McEwing in 8th, ahead of Paul Fernyhough, and completing the top 10 was Jack Mason. Behind that, Matt Shepherd in 11th, ahead of Will Rayson. Then Lee Green in 13th place. 14th place was Gary Preble from the back of the grid. Gianni Lenz 15th, ahead of Alan Curtis. Nick Platts was 17th, ahead of Ryan Wilby. Andrew Parker, slightly disappointing race for him in 19th. Hugo Gomez says if it ain't a wheel disconnection, it's a game crash that's put him out of that race. And of course, we lost Paul Donkin as well. Anthony Hambleton not taking the start after problems in race 1. And Rob Gregor, we sadly didn't see on track. How do you sum that up?
I'm not sure. I mean, at the end there, it was definitely getting a little bit too tasty, wasn't it? Like you said, there was a lot of needle going in there, as well as fisticuffs and maybe a few knives coming out as well. And Christian Chiruta definitely manoeuvred Cherney out the way at the top of the half of the circuit there. So not going to be a happy Cherney, I think, as we disappear off into this post-race interviews. But David Rowe there, consistent in that 3rd place, and all of them putting on what is, incredible racing on this online service. It really does feel like the real thing, and what a style. But Max Haynes, who can stop him? He's a runaway at this moment in time.
Yes, indeed. So that's just one defeat in 6 races so far for Max Haynes. He's dominating the championship to the extent that another certain Max from the Netherlands does in another form of motor racing, shall we say. But congratulations to Max Haynes. He was certainly not having things all his own way here at Zandvoort as our drone flies down the pit lane.
So let's see whether we can get some of our drivers in then. Let's start with our race winner, and if Max is around. I think he might have left already, so we're not going to get to talk to Max tonight, but well done to Max. Let's go next then to 2 second places for Christian Chiruta. So let's get him in the commentary box. Christian, have you got us here?
Good evening.
Well, it got feisty, shall we say, at the end there. I'm not sure everything you did there. Maybe Cherney might not be so happy, but still, 2nd place over the line.
I don't know what you're talking about, Cheese. I thought it was all pretty tasty, but fair and square. I
mean, it was epic racing, no matter what. It was close as you like, and the actual it was great to see the draft for the line didn't quite work out for you in race 1.
Yeah, I thought I'd got it based on past experiences being on the other end of that stick, as you full well know.
Absolutely, it's one of my favourite moments in motorsport.
Yes, I'm sure it is. And you waving your finger whilst you drove past will be etched into my memory.
As long as that's all he was doing with it. Sorry, couldn't resist that one.
No, I thought I had the gas at the end, but I think I missed out by, I don't know, 1,000 or something.
It was 16 thousandths over the line.
16 thousandths, okay, then a yard then, we'll call it.
Yeah.
A yard short.
But I guess a more consistent race evening for you this time than last time. So good points.
Yeah, I'm not having the chance to practice really at the moment, so I'm a little bit of work to do to catch up with Mr. Haynes, because he appears to be the cream of the crop at the moment. So
he certainly does. So I guess get the practice out, and we'll see you at the next one.
We'll have to see what we can do about that. Exactly.
All right. Good stuff. Cheers, man.
Cheers, chaps. Bye.
Bye. Okay, let's see whether we've got Mr. Rowe about. Hey, Mr. Rowe, have you got us in the commentary box?
I do.
Kind of a watching brief at times there, but you were absolutely nose to tail with Christian for pretty much that whole last race. It looked like you were trying to bump draft each other, but it wasn't really working out.
Yeah, we attempted it. We made a little bit of progress forwards, but yeah, it was tough at that point. Max Haynes had broken away a little bit. There was no chance of catching him, but it was really fun. It was a good track to drive on, good track to race on.
I mean, it gave us some excellent results for, excellent racing, and the results for you, pretty pleased, I'm guessing. Not ultimately going to impact Max Haynes' dominance, but for yourself, it's a bit more consistent tonight than the previous one.
Yeah, no, I had a little bit more pace here, I think, and that was good. Unfortunately, when I was out in front in the race one, I think there was a bit of bump drafting going on with Christian and Max, and they drew back to me pretty rapidly. And then I just got shuffled back in typical Caterham style.
Indeed, it was looking good for 3/4, wasn't it? Just the wrong quarter got you caught out.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, well done, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
I think I'm also going to try and get. Normally, I try and put Cherney in here, but he's not got voice, so I'll see whether Ryan Hooker's available for a chat, because he was there or thereabouts throughout that race. Ryan, have you got a voice tonight?
Yes, I have.
Hey, excellent stuff. We've tried to get you in here a couple of times, and I thought I'd drag you in here tonight. Just you were fully part of those battles, and they were pretty feisty at times. I wonder how you thought tonight went.
Yeah, no, it was great. I think a few of the guys use the paddle shifts, and I'm using manual, so I think I seem to be better off the starts. I always seem to go forward at the starts, but maybe just lack of midges in some of the areas where maybe I could drop a gear a bit nicer and things like that. It's a bit of a challenge. So pros and cons, I guess. But yeah, no, the action was superb. I was kind of trying to keep hold of them and possibly wait to pick up a few bits and try not to get too involved and let the leaders get away, but as you know, it doesn't always go to plan like that.
It's like I say, in a race like that, it's very fluid, isn't it? It's hard to make a plan and make it stick. I wonder how's your actual sort of training season going at the moment with all your students?
Yes, obviously full swing. Now it's got going. It seems to be between the graduate series and the main series coming very, very thick and fast. If anything, perhaps a bit too tight for some of the drivers. Quick turnarounds, 2-week gaps. If they have any dramas, it's a bit of a tight turnaround. But from my side of thing, yeah, it's a lot of travelling. Obviously off to Zandvoort next Tuesday. Did Croft last weekend for 4 days, and I've got one of my guys going out to Spa for the grads, which obviously is the same weekend as Zandvoort. So yeah, trying to keep up with it, trying to place the booking. Some of my guys are busy with their own things, so a bit of juggling, but I guess a good problem to have.
Are you getting to take the one-to-one truck out to Zandvoort, or are you going to take some tents out there?
Yeah, so on this one I thought, just because who knows if anyone's going to have dramas going out there, I'm just going to take my van and then put up my my awning. But then one of the drivers today said they've managed to book garages from Thursday to Sunday, so I might even be having luxury and setting up in the garage and not having to put a tent up to avoid any wind dramas, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, hope the weather's nice, because when you're down on Zandvoort on the coast, it's a beautiful place to be, and I'm quite jealous I'm not able to be there this year.
Yeah, no, hopefully we'll get to go over to the beach and have a little look at that. Last time I went, or the only time I went there, was 2015, so certainly due an update. It'd be nice to see a little bit more and maybe have a nice social with the guys in the evening as well.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well done tonight, and look forward to seeing you at the next one.
That's great. Thanks very much as always.
Great there. So Ryan, one of our sponsors here, and thankful to all our sponsors. So Ryan Hooker, DPR, for Dave Rogue, we've already spoken to, and FPZero Simulators, who support us as well. So thanks to everybody that that lets this happen and lets us see this great racing.
Yes, indeed. Thanks to all the marshals here at Zandvoort as well, and thanks for the opportunity to commentate once again. Been a pleasure joining you once again, Chris Hutchinson. And fantastic to be here at Zandvoort. Let's have a look at the schedule for the rest of the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship. Our next round on the 14th of June, we go to the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, the home of British Motorsport. Then a gap of around a month before we go to the fast sweeps of Thruxton in Hampshire, on to Norfolk and Snetterton in August. Then 2 weeks after that, the finale at Donington Park. Can't wait for all of those. So I guess that's about all for now, and we will see you at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit next month.
Indeedy. Let me just say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. The caterhamracer.com Season 10 270R Championship is sponsored by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, and by 1-to-1 on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker. We are supported by FPZero Simulators. I can't wait to see you at the next one. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Good night.